What's up, guys? Okay, so this is going to be a longer video, just for you in case. Okay, so the fallout from UFC 328 is in many directions and in many ways interesting. For me, the most interesting part is some sort of like one comment, or few comments actually, was asking like, why did Sean Strickland eventually end up being the guy to fight Khamzat really? And it's kind of interesting because I was like, did you guys not see him beating Hernandez? But they were saying it in the vein of, oh no, Strickland should have had one more W before getting the shot versus the champ. This is in hindsight of him saying that if Khamzat gets a W or two, then you will see him again. And this is before Khamzat confirmed that he's moving up and all that stuff, which I'm not sure he's gonna. I'm not sure he's gonna because he's already backtracked a little bit on that. And I think it's because he knows that if he does the weight cut a little bit better, then obviously he will make 185 easy, like he did versus DDP, and he will be more fresh, etc. Now, I'm not going to talk about that aspect yet, but let's say, hypothetically, he can do that. But I want to explain, in fact, why Strickland got the shot that he did. So, just when DDP got the belt, obviously, the Adesanya fight was actually the fight that was going to happen next. A few other fights happened that obviously resolved questions in the division, and one of them was Imavov stopping Israel Adesanya. Chimaev destroying Whittaker, obviously. In between, it was actually Bo Nickel and Renier de Ridder doing their thing in between, because a lot of us thought that those guys are going to be top 5 soon, and we'll see where they really fall. And then Brendan Allen, I forgot his name. He's an idiot. That's why I don't like him. Like his personality and stuff, I don't like him. So, yeah. But the main point is these guys were fighting each other in that between time. Now, the reason why so many fights actually happened in that time, and even Hernandez, I think he had 2 or 3 fights in that time period as well, is because Chimaev, after he got the belt, did not want to fight Imavov. Imavov was the clear contender for the belt, but that fight didn't happen. He should have fought, in fact, he should have fought DDP, I think, but people were pushing very hard for Strickland to get his rematch, which obviously he lost. But after that, when just before DDP versus Chimaev even happened, Imavov was the guy. And in fact, if Imavov fought in between there and won, or actually fought for the belt in between that, or even said, hey, let me and Chimaev fight before he gets his title shot, then that would have happened. But obviously the UFC liked Chimaev, and then on top of it, Chimaev and Imavov did not want to fight each other. Like they recently in the interview, Chimaev and Imavov both said they don't want to fight each other. So the problem was that before the belt was in Chimaev's hands, there was already a logjam there. There was conflict of interest. Then, when DDP lost his belt versus Chimaev, we were waiting for knows how long, and Imavov could have gotten that fight in that time. He could have been there that night and be like, listen, I want that fight, etc. But nope, it's because of the conflict of interest, because they know each other personally, yada, yada, yada. The religious backgrounds might be crossing over as well, and the area that they are from, there's a sense of loyalty there. It's kind of like Khabib and Islam in a way, or Usman and Israel Adesanya. The problem is, Imavov was the one next in line, and then Hernandez was sneaking in from behind, destroying contenders, all the way up until that point. So, in my honest opinion, if you go back, you guys can go double check, Hernandez had the most wins before he fought Strickland, like in the full top 5. I think Allen was the only other guy riding his coattails, and before that, Renier, and Bo Nickel, and those guys all had good streaks, but those got broken. And Dricus, he just lost the belt at that point as well. So Hernandez was the next guy. However, it seemed that Hernandez's camp decided just to fight anybody and anybody, like everybody and anybody, the Leon Edwards way or the Tony Ferguson way. Sorry, Tony Ferguson in his prime was more like that. He just kept fighting, and then at some point he finally put his foot down and was like, let me fight Khabib, let me fight whoever has the belt. And Hernandez didn't do that and said, okay, I'll fight Strickland, thinking if I defeat a former champion, then there's no denying me, yada, yada, yada. And then he lost. That's how Sean Strickland became the number one contender, because it's not just who he beat, it was the win streak behind it, the 5 win streak, I don't know, it was something crazy like that. And then on top of it, the type of fighter. It was the wrestler that he beat. Because Hernandez puts on a lot of pressure and gets people to the ground, and then beats up on them, gets them back to the ground, beats up on them again. He doesn't really like to choke people out and stuff, but if it presents itself, he goes for it. And Strickland beat that. And now, after Chimaev versus Strickland happened, well, it was literally the perfect fight and the perfect reason for this fight to happen. It was a stylistic clash that we knew would be more interesting, because funny enough, it was only until the Hernandez fight that people really realized that Strickland can get up from takedowns and make takedowns very hard to get on him. And people were like, oh, yeah, that's actually true. And then his striking is very elite. I mean, he beat Israel Adesanya 4-1, or 3-2 at least. This is interesting. And that's when the ball started rolling. So people acting like Sean was not the rightful number one contender next after his win versus Hernandez blows my mind. Now, I understand possibly this is a guy that's a fan of Chimaev. This is a salty guy that lost a lot of money betting on Chimaev, whatever. Now, I picked Chimaev to win, but to me, I knew Sean was the next guy. Definitely. And funny enough, when the Hernandez versus Strickland fight was made, and when it happened, I said, now we finally get some movement, because it seems DDP fell back and said, I need to work on my skill sets and I'll see how the division plays out a little bit and then jump in. And that's what it sounds like, because it's rumored he's going to face Imavov now. And obviously Imavov said he doesn't like DDP, so this is perfect for him. And also, they both have a similar opponent that they defeated. One was a knockout and one was a chokeout. So Imavov's point was, I beat Israel a little bit better than you, so I'll destroy you. So let's see. Anyway, Dricus fell back, and some of the other guys in the top 10, top 7, also sat back first. And that's when Chimaev was like, yep, me and Whittaker, and everybody knew that was going to leapfrog him ahead, and it did. Anyway, there's no real clear contender right now. We need to wait until a few fights happen. Now, I would like DDP versus Imavov. I think Kyle versus Allen would be fun. And who else? Hernandez, he needs a comeback fight. I need to check the top 10 there just to decide. But the main point is, this is such a weird question to say, or just weird thing to say, that Sean was not really the next one. But also, in a different reality, Hernandez stood back and said, it's cool, but I'm not fighting him. And possibly would have seen Chimaev versus Hernandez right now also, but yeah, damn, the long wait would have been a little bit crazy. Because, yeah. Anyway, it also seemed like Khamzat, before this fight was made and before Sean defeated Hernandez so convincingly, that he was sitting around waiting to see what Alex Pereira is going to do. So he was going to jump straight up to 205 and either get one fight, like a Yuri Prohaska fight, and then for the belt, or straight he would have gone for Alex Pereira and tried to get the belt there, which I really did not appreciate, because I understand becoming a champion is already a big thing, but 99% of people feel you need to defend your belt at least once. Or attempt to defend it at least. At least now he attempted that. And then you can move up. But, yeah. So, I hope that Khamzat and his camp sorts their things out, and then we get some more resolution up top, because we kind of have a logjam at 185 because of how inactive Chimaev was. Now, let's give Sean 6 to 7 months just to get back into the flow of things, heal up, all that stuff. Then we will probably see him active and ready in next year. Or if he explains to us, because I think that's the smartest idea, is him sitting back and saying, hey, listen, these contenders need to sort themselves out a little bit. We do not have a very clear contender. Like, if DDP comes back and he wins versus Imavov or Allen or Kaio, then he has 1 win. Kaio has 2 to 3 wins right now because he built them up in the time period since Chimaev became champ, if I'm not mistaken. Then also, Imavov has 2 or 3. No, 2. Izzy and who's the guy he fought after Izzy? Man, it was a very close fight, but he has 2. That means if Chimaev gets a win again, see, already it's a big logjam. We need somebody that's a little bit more clear at 185. People will say Pfeiffer, but Pfeiffer is still far down the list. He needs more wins. Yes, he beat Izzy, but so freaking what? Izzy clearly is a little bit 1 foot out, 1 foot in, and just trying to enjoy himself. He's not really at his prime in certain ways. And also, he did make a big mistake fight IQ-wise and just started swinging with Pfeiffer. So, it's not a good win. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Damn, I need to go check the top 10 and see who's has the most wins, etc. I feel Allen is the guy that I would say is next, but obviously this logjam is a problem. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. You guys think Sean was the rightful next contender or nah? Cheers.